sein. Ich tomme David, Shamreini El Kitasi Siva. Amav Ladino, Yadino Yoto, Taivosi Balo Lecho. Gdoish Mashabo Epshema, Vadirei Kol Heftzivon. Yubu Atzvoisom, Acher Mohobu, Balasich Niskeyam Gidon, Ubalasosh Moisom Asvosoi. Adonai menos chelki b'choisi, Adonai michkoi roli. Chavolim nofnu li banimim, Avnach lo shofero oloi. Avorei ches Adonai yosher yotzoni, Avleilois yisuli chu yosoi. Shivisi Adonai lenegdi somni, Ki mimini balemoi. Lochein somach libi v'yogel kevoidi, Abesori yishkoin lo beta. Lois azoy nafshi l'shoil, Lois iten chasitcho liroi shochas. Toidieni oirachayim, Soy v'smoches es ponecho, Ni'imois b'mincho netzach. Kapitel Chav Gimel. Mizmor David, Adonai roi lo yachzor. Dinois deshe yavitzeni, Amemei menuchos inaleni. Nafshi yishoi be'galcheni maglei tzedek l'man shemai. Gam ki elech begeitz amoves, O yoro ki ato imodi. Shibdu b'mishantecha yemei nachamoni. Taroch lefonai shulchan neged tzoyrevoi, Dishavta b'Hashem eroi shikoisi revoyo. Ach toy b'chesed lefuni kol yemei chayoi, V'shavta beis Adonai le'yorech yomim.
Clara was Revnusa Newton. The Isha Chashuva Ma'oid. Halacha was by her a wall. You can't break it. You can't, no getting around it. Halacha. Asking Shilas, everything up here halacha. And halacha says that on the days that we don't say Tachnun up here halacha, we don't say we don't say a hesped. And between Rosh Chodesh Sivan and Shavuos are days Yom She'ein Omer B'Em Tachnun. We don't say Tachnun. So up here halacha, we do not say a hesped in a day like this. There's another thing that we don't do. We don't say a certain tefillah during the days that we don't say Tachnun. Yesterday was Shabbos. There's an Ava Rachamim that we say before Musaf. That we say Kehillos HaKodesh, Shemasri Nafshem, HaKadosh Hashem. The Kehillah is the communities that give their life away for Hashem. That tefillah we don't say on days that we don't say Tachnun, with an exception, the days of Sfira. Days of Sfira, even if, according to the Mechzaloza, even if there's 5 reasons put together to say, not to say Tachnun, it's Rosh Chodesh, it's Erev Shavuos, there's a bris, there's a chassan, several reasons not to say Tachnun, but we still say the Ava Rachamim. Ava Rachamim is still said. The reason given in the Poskim is because that's the time. The Sfira days is the time when the takana to say this tefillah tuf numvav, the time when many kehillas, many communities in Germany were killed at Kiddush Hashem, and we see it's not just those almost 1,000 years ago, but till recently our Zaydis and Babas, for some of you, your parents, they have the yard site around this time, the Yidden, especially Kehillas Munkach, the Spiegel Shul. The Spiegel Shul was built, was named Or HaChaim, to Reb Chaim ben Yomen Spiegel, Rosh Kol of Munkach. His yard site is around this time, this was Chodesh. Many Yidden in Hungary, especially Munkach, other places in that places of Europe, they're killed the Kiddush Hashem around this time of Shavuos, the time of Sfira. So that's what we still say of Rachamim, because this is the time. But the question is, why is this the time? We know there's the 3 weeks. We have the 3 weeks. This is the Yimei Din. It says in Halacha to be careful, not to be Matayil. It's a dangerous time. Hashem should protect everyone. But it's a time that you shouldn't travel. You shouldn't do things that is risky. There's the 3 weeks. Sfira days is not Api Halacha. You can do Tiyul. It's not considered Yimei Din. Okay, the Ramban says it's very special times. Sfira days, very special days. It's a Cholamoyed. It's between Pesach and Shavuos. Why is it that in these days was the time that so many people, so many of our parents, of our grandparents, of our avos and imois were killed at Kiddush Hashem dafk in the time of Sfira? And we don't find that it's dangerous for other things, other people die. It's just Kiddush Hashem. There's something about Kiddush Hashem in this period of time, dying out Kiddush Hashem. And one of the explanations I once heard is, it's not that it's a Yemei Din. We're coming now to Kabbalah Satayr. And you're not going to say Nasa Vinishma. Yeah, we're going to keep the Torah. And keeping Torah is not easy. Keeping Torah is not easy. The guys were very honest. They were saying everyone has their things that is difficult for them. But we know ourselves. We know what it says in Shulchan Aruch. We know not everything is, some of the things is not so difficult, some more than the others. But there are many things in Yiddishkeit, many things to be a Erlich Yid, all the way to follow Allah step by step without any compromises, to keep Torah, to keep Yiddishkeit. There are certain things that is very, very difficult, and we're not always in the mood, and we're not always able to do it. The Rebbe made it, was Mesaviv, that this should be the time that we remember, and we keep reminding ourselves, this is a time that our Zaydas and Babas gave their lives away for Kiddush Hashem, for the Rebbe Shalom. Our Zaydas and people that we knew, that they went through, mysterious nefesh, giving their lives away for the Rebbeinu Shalom. So when we are facing our challenges, we're facing our struggles. We want to do this mitzvah, not getting up to daven, to do a chesed for someone, and we start feeling that I'm not in the mood. It's not so easy. So the nasa b'nishma is not going to be perfect. So the Rebbeinu reminds us, say Avar Achmim, say this is a time that our Zaydas and Babas gave their life away. They walked into the gas chambers and say Shema Yisrael with the Amunah to give their life to the Rebbeinu Shalom. What's asked from us? From us is a little easier than that. So our nasiv nishma, our acceptance of the Torah should be done in the right way. That's what we say of Erachimim, even in the days that we don't say Tachim. So based on that, we're not going to be maspit. Allah says not to be maspit. We're not going to focus on the loss of the mishpacha, the loss of the kehillah. That's not the focus. The focus is to see Clara was Nosnata, a young woman coming out from the Holocaust, coming to a country, coming to a country, foreign country, doesn't know anyone, doesn't know the language, and there was so much temptations, there was so much forces taking within the family, out of the family, people that did not keep the Messiahs of us, they did not keep the way the Zaydas and Babas were. The Nisyonis was unbearable. We can't even imagine how that was. And Clara Bas Nasnata kept strong with Mesiris Nefesh. The Heilige Rab Dushinsky said, people that died of Kiddush Hashem in the gas chambers, they're Kedoshim. And people like Clara Bas Nasnata that survived the Holocaust and kept with that Yiddishkeit, with that strength, they're not Kedoshim, they're Kodesh Kedoshim. What we're going to do, we're going to get inspired. We're going to get that chizuk from a woman, Clara Bas Nasnata, that amunah, with that strong amunah that she had, whenever you spoke to her about Mashiach, Animanu b'min Shalem Avias HaMashiach, that was always looking forward, yearning for the Geulah. It's one of the things that the neshama is asked soon after the Yitzias Neshama, when it's going up to Shemayim. The Neshama is asked, Sepisa Yeshua, Clara Basnos Nata will be able to answer that with, yes, Sepisa Yeshua, this was my life mission. She always kept talking about Mashiach should come, and Mashiach should come, and the Ge'ilah should be here. She had that love and that passion for every Heilige Zach, Eretz Yisrael, that much like Bnei Salafchat, this Ahava to Eretz Yisrael, that connection to Eretz Yisrael, the connections to the Shechina, connections to the Rebbeinu Shalom, arranging shiurim in our house. An older woman, you can take it easy, relax, maybe go out with some friends, schmooze with your friends, making phone calls, bringing people to the house, shiurim, being involved with the shiurim, asking questions and being all into it. Every Dovish Kedusha, how that was. Remember when Howie puts out when we start selling the chametz. So the first minute from when you start on chametz, to get the phone call, Mr. Spiegel, with messages in the house and cell phone, every number that there is, please, we have to sell the chametz. So okay, that first minute, it's I think before the Shnitzna Nafila, come to the house, everything was set. The whole Seder table was all set. The matzah tash for the bechers, everything. This is looking forward, the yearning for every heilige zach, Yiddish zach. Looking forward for that. That inspiration, we're getting into Matan Torah, a time of Matan Torah, to look to a woman like that, Clara Bas Nosanot. But I think the biggest inspiration we could get is from the children. Nosen, Zazangezind, and his wife, Kushba Eidim, and the Kushba daughter. The level of Kibbut Av Ha'im. Kibbut Av, told of Rabbi Yaakov Dov, is still alive. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Any Holocaust survivor, is not simple. But with such an Ibegegebenkeit, with such a devotion, and such patience, with such tolerance, with such I have to make sure that she should be happy, she should be comfortable, she should be give her the respect, give her what she wants, give her wishes, and making sure that it's a halacha. What if her wishes is not under to work it out, to make it through and through, to make sure that it's all done correctly. It's an inspiration. We're coming into Kabbalah Satayra. We don't know the cheshbonis. This is the time that the Mishpacha, the Spiegel Mishpacha, has their yahrzeit. She was nifter on the day, on Yom HaMeyuchas, on the base 7th is the day, many Mechasolozer's yahrzeit. It's a time that when we're makabel on ourselves Kabbalah Satayra, that we're going to keep the Torah to think. Remember, Clara Bas Nosanata, how she kept the Torah, how she kept her connection to Rebbeinu Shalom, how she kept her ahava and love to every Davar Kedusha. When we say our Nasa V'Nishma, let's try Masa Yagia Masa Lamasa Voise. Hopefully, we'll be able to one day be on that level of strong connection to the Rebbeinu Shalom, like Clara Bas Nosanata. This separation should be very short-lived. Mashiach will come very soon. We'll be Tchiz we'll be able to get together. Clara, the ganze Mishpacha. And Vilam Avoslan Netzach, Moch Hashem Elkim Dimum Al Kolponim. We should only hear Pesuras Toivas and Simchas Ba'al Yidin.
Seeing you all here today, so many friends and family, all to honor my mother, it is amazing. Just look around. It's not her contemporaries that are here. They're all gone. It's all young people. She was connected to everybody. I think it's very unusual. The reason why I think it's unusual is because she was born July the 2nd, 1934. She was 89. She would have been 90 next month. I know what you're thinking as a Spiegel. You're asking yourself what happened, a motorcycle accident. And because all of her contemporaries have long passed away, you would expect her to have slowed down and coast. But because she didn't, you're all here. She never stopped living, and she never stopped planning her next thing. And she would have loved to have been here to see this. She was born in Vienna in 1934. Her father's name was Nussin Fishman, and he was a broker in grains and commodities. And her mother, Ida Fishman, was a homemaker, and she was one of 4 children. She was about 9 or 10 years old when the Germans came into Austria, and her father, who originally was from Hungary, fled with the family to Budapest. And there he opened a small shoe factory. And after a while, her father eventually received the notice to appear at the trade station, and they were keenly aware what that meant. And my mother told me that she alone accompanied him to the trade station, and she begged him to go with him. But he told her that she needed him to watch over her mother and her siblings, and that is what he asked her to commit to. Her siblings, 2 brothers and a sister, ended up on a transport train somewhere in the Austria-Hungarian mountains, and they ended up in a monastery. And they were saved by being looked after by the nuns over there. But my mother, even though she could have joined them, she stayed back because she took her father's words very seriously, and she hung back with her mother. They made their way to the Wallenberg houses where the embassy was, and a lot of people crammed into there and slept on the floors to try to be safe. And at night, she would sneak out to try to find something to eat to bring back for her mother. And her mother would spend all day online to try to get a Schutzpass, which was something that the Wallenberg embassy tried to get. These were forged papers or real papers that they used to help people get out. She finally got them, and she paid one of the workers who worked for her father in their shoe factory to go deliver the Schutzpass to the father, who was in a labor camp somewhere in Hungary, and he pocketed the money and disappeared. After the war, she opened a kindergarten and a summer camp. And Mrs. Vera Lazar and Andrew Friedman, actually, from this building, were in her kindergarten. If I could describe her in 2 words, I would say she was stubbornly optimistic. And it was her stubbornness that made her who she was. When she and my father were talking about getting married, she insisted that she wanted to live in Israel to be with her brother, and he wanted to live in LA to be with his family. So no deal. So they came to a compromise, 6 months here and 6 months in Israel. So my father said, okay, then let's get engaged. And she says, no, 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 no. Where are we going to live in Israel? And he said, I don't know, we'll figure it out. She says, well, no deal. So they went out and got an apartment in Tel Aviv. And then they got engaged. And she still has that apartment in Tel Aviv. She still has it because of her stubbornness. My sister and I used to always bug her and ask her to exchange the one in Tel Aviv for one in Yerushalayim, and this way we could use it when we go visit. And so can she, because when we go there, we typically stay in Yerushalayim. And her answer was always, no, the Yerushalayim is in the past. Tel Aviv is the future, and I'm always looking to the future. She was stubbornly optimistic. Just last Thursday, when she came home from the hospital, that evening was her last time that she really was able to communicate. She saw that we had installed a hospital bed in her room to help her, because her bed is the old, whatever. And when she got into the room and she saw the bed, she says, I don't want to go into that bed. These were almost the last words that she spoke. And I said, why not? This is going to help you. This is going to be more comfortable for you. She said, no, that's where people go to die, and I'm not ready. When we were all locked up in our homes when the whole COVID thing was started, and we all didn't know how bad it could get or how, nobody knew anything at first. I called her up and I begged her to stay home. I said, listen, whatever it is that you need, just let us know and we can have it delivered for you. And we really, she didn't really believe this was anything yet. And in the end, she was right. But we were really scared for her. And she doesn't, follow. If you tell her what to do, she's not going to follow you unless she's on her own going to be convinced of it. And you couldn't get any masks early on, and we all were scared. I begged her not to go out. She says, you can't deliver fruits to me. I need to feel it. I need to see it. I need to select it. It's you can't just send me random stuff. But I was really worried. She says, don't be worried. I'm actually getting dressed right now. I'm heading out to Ralph's. And I was really worried. So I called up my cousin, Howie Glove. And I said, Howie, I got a problem. I need your help. He says, what do you want me to do about it? I said, I don't really know. You can't convince her. You can't talk to her. But we really need to stop her. So he says, okay, do you have any ideas? I said, why don't you go to her car while she's getting ready, she's inside, and just let the air out of the tires. And if she can't drive, maybe we'll buy some time. So Howie says, I can't do that. I'm an officer of the law. And it's against the law. You can't make this stuff up. So I called my good friend Mati. I said, Mati, you got to help me out. I don't know how many of you know my friend Mati noticed, but he's afraid of no one. And he said, I can't do it. I'm scared. I'm scared of your mother. So I assured him that if he goes right now, he'll be able to do it quickly before she comes out. And he ran over there and he did it and he got out of there. And a short time later, she went out to go to Ralph's. And she drove to Ralph's on 4 flat tires. She picked her fruits. She went to the manager's desk and she called AAA and she drove home with 4 perfectly filled tires. She was stubbornly optimistic. Recently, when I was in the hospital with her, the food service worker came in to bring her her meal. This is like a middle-aged woman, maybe 60, 65 years old. And my mother greeted her by her name. And I was in there with her, and she says, this is Lydia. She brings me my kosher meals every day. Lydia, meet my son. And this lady turns to me, and she said that I've worked here doing this job for 20 or 30 years, no one's ever called me Baba, ever. Never a patient. Just told me one. It's this stubbornness that made it very difficult to care for her. And it's also what kept her alive. She's a survivor and she's a fighter, and she lived on her own terms, no one else's. When I was a kid, she was very active in the Ladies' Beaker Cholim here in town. I remember in 1979, I was 7 years old, and my mother told me and my sister that if we helped to prepare the pushka boxes for the Ladies' Beaker Cholim, we could watch Dynasty with her. So, of course, we were in. And she had these stickers made, the old-fashioned stickers that you don't peel off, but you have to dip it in water. And then it's impossible to get without bubbles, and it's a mess. But that's what she had made special for these tzedakah boxes. And during this past week, while we were in the house with her, I found them. I found them around the house. And there's no money in them. I found about 5 or 6. Anybody who wants, I can get you one. And these are the ones that we wrapped that day. I don't know if any of you recognize one of these. It's dated September the 2nd, 1979. It says, Los Angeles Ladies Beaker Cholim, to give a helping hand. And in the back, she wrote this: try to do all the good you can, in all the ways you can. In all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as you can. I want to thank Hashem that she was able to spend this past Pesach together with our family in New York. She was alert. She was involved in the Seder from beginning to end. She was singing with us. She was talking and answering kids' questions. She was elegant. She was stubborn. And we loved every minute. I want to thank Hashem that she was there in person when my son Eliyahu became a chassan at Cholamoid, and she was there and she attended the Vart. She was surrounded by all her kids, her grandkids, her great-grandkids. She was a queen surrounded by her people. And she knew everybody by name. She even approved son's Kala, and that's not a small thing. And that will be a lasting memory forever for us. Memory. I want to thank Hashem that she was able to leave this world on her own terms, in her own house, in her own room, almost her own bed, with her family and friends, visiting with her dignity and her strength unbroken. On behalf of my sister and I would like to thank all those who have looked in on my mother and visited with her and took care of her for so many years. I cannot mention everybody by name because there are just so many, and I couldn't bear the thought of leaving somebody out. But from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank those young girls who came to her every Shabbos. She looked forward to that very much. And those not so young of you who came regularly. Those who went shopping for groceries for her, brought her challah every Shabbos, her gefilte fish, her potato kugel, the Jewish journal, and all the ladies who came on Shabbos to her Bikar Cholim. All of you can take credit for giving her a real life till the very end. I also want to thank those who have allowed us to stay in your homes while we came to visit and attend to her needs. Hashem should bench you all. My wife, Yafit, has been an absolute rock. She has coordinated and arranged much of my mother's in-home care, dealing with all the red tape and all the frustrations, and she never stopped and never took no for an answer. Judy and I owe you a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. And finally, I want to say to my sister Judy, my brother-in-law Yassi, my wife Yafit, and all of our kids, all of our combined families. These last months have been very difficult, but never once was there a machlokes. Never once was there a disagreement. Never once was there any disharmony. We all made decisions together. And this is the family she made, and she can be proud of. And we will make her proud. And we will be stubbornly optimistic for her.
My name is Spiegel. I am the grandson. And I apologize if this is a little bit less polished or a little bit quicker. These are the exhausted words of a sleepless grandson who got the call a lot earlier and a lot later than he expected to. We're here for the Levaya of my Savta, but yesterday was not the first time that she passed away. A part of Savta was killed many, many years ago when she and her family were hunted and chased across lands that they believed were their home, when their neighbors became their executioners, and when their closest family became stories burdened with too much pain for them to get over to their children and grandchildren. A part of Savta died then, and again whenever she was forced to relive these experiences. But a part of her, the part that we all knew and the part that we all loved, survived and was made all the stronger for it. Savta was one of the toughest and one of the strongest people that there ever was. She was someone who looked the Germans in the eye and said, "You did not beat me." She was someone who looked at her children and grandchildren and said, "They could not end us." She was someone who stared down a police officer and said, "So what if it's a one-way? There's enough room for two cars." We were convinced that we were never going to go to her Levaya because she was the only one we knew with the Malachim of us and say, "No, you don't get to tell me what time it is. And you don't get to tell me when my time is up." But it seems that she finally found the one person who was more stubborn than she was. Unfortunately, with this strength, sometimes she was too strong and she was too hurt. And even to those who were closest to her, there was always a layer of separation that was there. Part of her had died, and despite everything that she had done and accomplished up to this point, part of her was too closed off to properly live. For a long time, I can never be sure how present she was when we were with her. We didn't know how much of her was there with us and how much of her was still out there in the past, reliving everything. But she had these moments. These moments are where she truly lived. And you can see in these moments, when you looked in her eyes, that she was there and she had absorbed every minute of every time that she was with us. In these moments, you can see that she was living the life of somebody who had everything ripped away from her when she was young. She was afraid. She was afraid of expressing her love and her appreciation and her happiness. She was afraid of accepting that good things could happen to her and that she could speak openly about them, because to express it is to make it real. And once it's real, it can be taken away again. And despite this, she did it all anyway. She powered on and she created a wonderful and beautiful family and a community who could love and appreciate her enough to fight through her fear and to show her that she could have these moments and that she could have many of them. She had moments when she was fully and openly engrossed in the simchas of her children, her grandchildren, and her friends. Even in her last months, when decades blended together into minutes, she would ask nonstop questions about my brother's Kala to be by name and talk about how excited she was to walk down the aisle and what she would wear, even if they can never get her hair just quite right. She had moments where she showed true love and appreciation for her family and for those who put in a human amount of effort and time to make sure that she was well taken care of and as comfortable as possible, no matter the circumstances and no matter her objections, because we knew that we could allow her to live properly. We lost somebody special, and we are here to mourn that. But Safta's experienced enough mourning in her life and the life of those closest to her. She had enough mourning and pain to last 10 lifetimes. So we can celebrate. We can celebrate the life that she could not allow herself to celebrate. And we can accept the good in her life that she could not allow herself to accept. So we can remember her for who she was, and for all of our simchas going forward, know that she can finally and truly appreciate them for what they are.
Savta. Although it's so painful for us to say goodbye, today you're getting a real hero's welcome in the Olam Emes. You're a celebrity, you're a hero. The Zaydas and the Babas from generations back are celebrating you. And the reason why they're celebrating you is because you were tasked, and your whole generation was tasked, with an impossible mission. And that is to take the fire and the bren and the geschmack and the Yiddishkeit of the Friede Kedoris in the Alteheim, and you were tasked with transplanting it here in the United States. Many, many people failed. And even those who succeeded couldn't clone the level of Yiddishkeit from the Alteheim and transplant it here. But with your Mesiras Nefesh, some people refer to that as stubbornness. I would describe it as commitment, of passion, of focus, of devotion, to make sure that you'll be able to build a family that will mirror and clone the beautiful Yiddishkeit that existed in the Friede Kedoros. So today you're a hero. You're a big hero. The Torah tells us that Avraham Avinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, I can't destroy Sodom without discussing it with Avraham Avinu first. Why? Because he is going to be mechanech his children to go in the Derech HaTorah. So someone like that, I can't do anything without their permission. Savta, you planted into your children, as Rabbi Klein mentioned, the best testimony of who a person is the family, the children and grandchildren that they built. Where can you find a more beautiful family, kinderlich, einiglich, einiglich, that are all Isaac with Torah of mitzvahs? They're Isaac in Torah and avoiding Yerushalayim. That doesn't happen by itself. It happens because of what some people might refer to as stubbornness. The stubbornness, as Rabbi Klein mentioned, when you come to a new society where we practice Judaism light, and you say, no, I want to fear just like it wasn't the style when you moved to Los Angeles to cover your hair. But you said, no, in the Heimat and I'm going to be covering my hair. When it came time to decide on which moistness of chinuch you're going to send your children to, you said, I want to send to the most charaitish moistness in the city, and that's where you sent your children. And then, as Rabbi Klein mentioned, you were Moshe Nefesh to teach them the beauty of Shabbos. You don't just go through Shabbos, you live Shabbos. And you taught them about the love for Eretz Yisrael and the love for every Yid in Eretz Yisrael and the concern for the safety of every Yid in Eretz Yisrael. And you planted into them the yearning, the daily yearning for Mashiach. It's not a slogan, it's not an alimama that we say out of rote. It's our passion, it's what we live for. And it's all these passions and commitments that you pumped into us, your children, and that resulted in the beautiful Yiddish Adoidus that you created, and that's why you're a big hero today. You're being greeted as a great hero because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you, wow, you did it right. You created the Yiddishkeit that I wanted to see perpetuated here in America, and you did it. Sapta, you're in a very powerful position today. The same way you stubbornly focused on your missions and on your goals in your lifetime, we're asking, please continue with that same stubbornness. Continue to be poyalized by the Rebbeinu Shalom, that your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren should continue in the Derech HaTorah of Avodah. They should always have parnasa. They should always have Torah in Yerushalayim. They should find good shidduchim. They should be healthy. So we can continue this great mission that you entrusted us with. Be poyalized by the Rebbeinu Shalom every single day you wanted Mashiach. Continue fighting for Mashiach. Fight to bring the Geula. Continue fighting for peace in Eretz Yisrael, that the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael shouldn't have to suffer anymore. Because we know that when Mrs. Spiegel, when Savta asks for something, she gets it. In the name of my family, I want to ask Mechila Rabin from Savta for the times that we may not have treated you with the proper respect that we should have. I'm asking Mechila on behalf of myself and our entire family. I also feel it's very important to mention, although Nosson says we don't like mentioning individuals, but there is one individual that we do need to mention, and although Nosson mentioned it, I feel in the name of my wife and I, we want to mention it again. Our dear sister-in-law Yafit, the wisdom that she had, and the commitment that she had, and the focus that she had, never to give up, to literally make magic and create and find solutions that no one of us even imagined was possible. But she turned the world over to find the best solutions for Savta. And we will always be grateful to you, and we will learn from you that no is not necessarily an answer that we ever have to accept. So once again, I ask Savta, please beg by the Rebbeinu Shalom, that Clara should ensure Meshir should come bekarov and bila hamadav v'lenetzach u'mach Hashem dima v'yalch upon him.
Ramchal says in Mesilas Yesharim, he speaks about the meat of the Zrizos. He says one of the things that are mafsed Zrizos is when a person is lazy. He talks about a whole discussion a person could have with the Atzel. He has any kind of excuse you could ever think of. If you would ever ask Safta, how you doing? The answer was always doing. There was never such a thing by her as just sitting and doing nothing. Every time she came for Pesach, she had a list, long vidigu list of things she had to do. She was always moving, coming, going to Titzach. There was never, ever time wasted. There's no such thing as wasting time. The value she had for life was something to really learn from. If you ever gave her bracha, she said, no, that's not what I want. I want quality, not quantity. It was all about quality. She was makbid every second should be used for good. Busy, busy, making sure every day that she has is used for the proper thing. It says when a person comes to the little mammoth, they ask him a few questions. One of them is Nasasa B'Emunah. Most people understand this to mean to do business properly. Emunah also means having Emunah in the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Emunah that Safta had was beyond. The last 11 months can prove the Emunah B'Tachan she had in the Rebbeinu Shalom. There's no explanation to why everything went so smoothly, even though I don't know everything that happened, but it took much less of a toll than they thought it would. It's because of her emunah she had, always mentioning the Rebbeinu Shalom every day and every second of her life. So after you could say, yes, I did. I worked with emunah. Safta always had a good line to say. She was always happy. She always had a funny thing to keep a smile on your face. She always was in an upbeat, always a good mood. Another question they ask is, it's peace of Yeshua. Safta never did a conversation go by with you that you didn't mention Mashiach and Kimin. So now you can go to the Rebbeinu Shalom and tell me, yeah, Mashiach and Kimin. If you speak to her in Erev Rosh Hashanah, she couldn't get the words out of her mouth. She was trying to work. She lived with it, with her Spiegel Yeshua like no one else. She had such a desire to go to Yerushalayim, to Eretz Yisrael. You can go down by the Rebbeinu Shalom now. Go with Zaidi, go with everybody else. So you meet over there. Tell them, yeah, Mashiach Ken Shem Kimin. I want to ask you, Mechila, if I ever was not covered with you. My father already asked Mechila for the whole family. I'm going to ask personally for myself. Give me a future for us and the whole family. And be like Mama Vaslina Sach Macha Shantima Meach.
Robert Clark. Please rise. El Bonerachame Sheikhel Bamroimi Yametzei B'nochenachayna Al Kanfei Ashkina V'malos Kedoshim U'Tehorim Kizoyar U'Rekyam Asirim Es Nishmas
Lanu bes nasanata shalcha le'alamo. Babu shnat v'tzedaka v'azkaras nishmaso. Began Eden menuchasa lachem barachamim yasre b'seser kanafav le'alamim v'yitzroel b'sar l'chayim es nishmasa Adonai hu nachalosa v'sanach hamishka v'shalom
Shtiv will be at 200 South Formosa, Mincha Marv tonight and tomorrow night 7:50. Erev Yom Tif Mincha at 3 o'clock. Shabbos during the week Monday and Tuesday at 8 a.m. We're going to be Malavad Aron on La Brea. If you're going to the cemetery, please go to your cars. We'll be taking La Brea to the 10 East, to the 60 East, exit Downey Road, again 4334 Whittier Boulevard. Whoever wants to help at Aron's in the courtyard.